How's it going, guys? Coming with you, second video of the day. Just want to give you a little bit of advice on how to make yourself not look like the black sheep of the family, or at least make yourself look a little less crazy when you bring up some of these conspiracy theories to spend all your time researching. There's nothing wrong with doing that. However, when you're trying to approach your family, you have to be very, very careful how you go about it, because it's easy to ostracize yourself. I myself know this to be the case. I've done it. And even though I can defend myself when it comes talking to one or two people, nobody is capable of defending themselves against 15 people who will constantly interrupt you and burden shift at the same time. It's just impossible. Absolutely. So the first thing you have to do is pick your target wisely. Find that person in your family who understands that you spend your time looking into this stuff, and who also respects you enough to know that you're intelligent and you're not just shooting from the hip or talking out of your ass. I myself rely on my aunt's longtime boyfriend, husband by common law by now, right? He always hears me out, and he always asks very intuitive questions. I'll give you an example. Last Christmas Eve, I dropped on him the whole flat earth theory, and he actually brought it up to me. And this happened due to me making myself look like a complete loon in front of the entire family by bringing flat earth up out of nowhere on Easter during the Easter egg hunt for the adults, while we were going around trying to find nips and joints and Easter eggs hidden by the, in the backyard or whatever. So after we get done with the Easter egg hunt, I just come flat out and I'm like, how many of you guys have seen the curvature of the earth because it's flat, right? And naturally, my grandfather, who was a helmsman in the Navy, comes flat out and says, oh, I saw the curvature from the boat, when I know for a fact he didn't. And then my uncle, who's done a lot of flying, oh, I've seen a curvature from a plane, when I know for a fact he didn't. But my issue there was I brought it up in front of 15 people all at once, and every time I started talking, I had somebody interrupt me. The same thing that happens on the internet, happens on forums, happens in the comments. You constantly have question after question instead of them addressing the main issue, your initial point, because they don't want to open their eyes enough to actually see it. So anyway, I'm sitting there on Christmas Eve last year, and he comes up to me and he's like, so you don't actually believe the earth is flat, do you? And I looked at him with a straight face, and I'm like, yeah, and I can prove it to you if you actually take the time to listen to me. So I went on explaining how he shouldn't be able to see the Chicago skyline from a distance of 26 miles, which is a lot more than that in all reality, but I used smaller numbers for him, even though that's not the case. Like, cause you could be on a boat looking at the Chicago skyline from 26 miles, right? It's easier not to use huge numbers with people because, in all honesty, they don't really care about the math, right? As long as what you're saying is factual, it doesn't matter. As long as you do what you have to do to relate to these people, don't lie. Do not. Because it makes your entire argument look like a bunch of shit. You can't lie about anything. If there's something you don't know, there's no shame in saying you don't know. Because let's be honest with ourselves, most people that believe the earth is a spinning ball flying through space, they don't know anything. They know what they've been told, right? Same as you and I before we started looking into it. So I drew them a diagram or whatever, and I drew a lighthouse, and I drew a boat on a circle, right? And showed them how there'd be a hump in between them, but not only that, how they'd be looking off into space. They wouldn't even be looking straight forward due to our perspective. And he got it. And he was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense, right? And then he asked the next question, well, where's the edge? How can we circumnavigate? Why don't we fall off? So on that same circle, I drew the flat earth map for him. Explained to him Antarctica's on the outside. And I went on the Wikipedia and I pulled up Captain Cook, and I showed him that Captain Cook took 60,000 nautical miles to navigate Antarctica, and that just blew his mind. So what I'm telling you is, you have to pick your target wisely. And the information is going to spread from there to other people, whether you want it to or not, right? Because when he walked away from that conversation, those were the only 2 points that we talked about. He didn't have any more questions after that because we're interacting at a party, right? So he has other people to talk to, so do I. Next thing I know, my cousin Mike comes up to me. He's a huge sports fan, right? So we can relate to Flat Earth because of Kyrie Irving, which is very unique, and I thank Kyrie for that. But yeah, and he's a teacher on top of it, so he paid to go to school. Even though it's physical education, you have to have common courses, right? So he paid to go to school, he paid to be indoctrinated. We all know the mindset of somebody like that has a degree from an institution. And let's just say he's kind of ego-driven. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because I very much was ego-driven until about last year. But I can recognize it a lot easier now. Anyway, he comes up to me, and he's like, Craig just came over and told me that you freaking proved the flat earth to him. Enough to make him look into it anyway. He's like, there's no way in hell that's real. I went to school, you don't have an education, blah, blah, blah. But he was nicer about it than that. But that's what I took away from it, right? So I looked at him, and I'm like, well, all right, instead of making me prove the earth is flat, how about you prove to me that your model's right without using an outside source? Give me an experiment that I can do that proves the earth is a spinning ball flying through space. So that's easy. NASA. I was like, you can't use NASA. NASA's lied to you. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, do you think you've ever seen a picture from space? He's like, yeah, they have pictures of the earth, blah, 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 all the time. Satellites, blah, blah, blah. So I go online and I pull up NASA's own website where they admit that what they show you is CGI rendered through data from satellites and artist interpretations. And that blew his mind that there's not one authentic picture of the Earth from space, and the only one they say is, I clearly showed to him, was altered in Photoshop. So now there's a chink in his armor, right? He's still gonna meet me head on, right, and deny everything I say is reality. However, I have it defused because he doesn't have the rest of the family to back him up. And this is what it boils down to, right? You're not going to win that debate. You're never going to have somebody coming away talking with you. Oh my God, the earth is flat. And if you do, man, that's not the type of person. It's not the type of person you want to be influencing. You want to make it very clear to that person, do not believe a word I say. Otherwise, they're falling into the same fucking trap we fell into, believing in the globe model. That's what's scary about the flat earth is it makes me cringe when I see somebody jump on board just because somebody mentioned it to them. It took me months, if not a complete year, maybe 2, to be fully on board of knowing that the earth is flat. Now, I realized the earth wasn't a spinning ball very quickly. However, coming to the realization and actually being able to admit to myself that I believe, I don't know, I'm not going to say I know, but I believe the earth is flat, and I can offer some evidence to back that up. I'm never going to walk away from the argument. Just like I know a lot of you are never going to walk away from the argument, and you know what? It's something you want to talk about, and that's understandable because we've all invested a lot of time into this, right? All of us. But at the same time, we have to realize, what is the point in putting ourselves out there in a detrimental way? Like, why should our character take a hit in the eyes of our family if it can be avoided? And it can be avoided, and it's very easy. Don't get yourself into a situation where you're sitting at the dinner table around 15 members of your family, and all of them start berating you because of your beliefs. Like, these people don't understand that. They believe that they're sitting on a spinning ball flying through space at 1,000 miles at the equator, freaking all kinds of other motions on top of that. And that the stars, even though they've never moved, are spinning around our heads in so many directions we can't even imagine. Not to mention their math can't account for more than 2 bodies moving at the same time, right? These people don't understand that their entire science is nothing more than pagan astrology from back in the day. These people don't realize that they've been programmed from the minute they wake up till the minute they go to bed every day. And there's no difference between them and us other than the fact that we've woken up. And we need to understand that. We need to understand we can't look at these people with animosity and hatred and frustration because we were them, okay? None of us woke up one day and said the earth is flat, right? We might have woken up one day and said the earth was flat, but it was preceded by months and months and months of research. So don't put yourself in the position to get railroaded. It's very easy. Pick your targets wisely. Like, I'm never going to be able to convince my 70-year-old grandfather who served in the Coast Guard that the earth is flat because he's indoctrinated to the point of no return, because he's convinced himself that he's seen boats go over the horizon, even though lighthouses have saved his life and the lives of everybody on his boat, right? I know a lighthouse has before. He's told the story where a lighthouse saved him from wrecking when there's no way he would have been able to see the lighthouse if he was on a globe. He's just not going to give me the time of day to hear it. That's life. You're not going to convince everybody, man. But if you can touch one or two people in your family and get them to honestly start thinking about it, that's all it's going to take. Just don't let yourself get into a position where you're surrounded and being berated. It's not going to end well, no matter how much evidence you have. They have power in numbers, and that's pretty much everything.